this computer. Cool. Here we go. So,
oh, yeah, and Cliff, on the recording on Tuesday, the little panel of all the students was like blocking part of the code on the right.
what happened?
Like, you know, where it shows the cascade of all the students in the class?
That actually covers it up on the video. I thought it squishes the video to make sure it can show those on the side. I also
No.
didn't realize it shows those. So wait, because I'm not sharing those on my screen. I don't see those on my screen. I didn't realize it does that. So it actually shows you guys, huh?
Yeah, and it was like in a really bad location for the last video. It was like covering the last, you know, end of your screen. I was like, what does that say?
I know. I was like, okay, I guess I'll wait 20 minutes. Then
I kept trying to move it on my own screen, like, oh, son of a bitch. Why do I keep doing this?
All right, we'll try to keep that in mind. Let me do this then. That, and I'm gonna put you guys here on my screen, so that way it does kind of block my screen a little bit.
You also close the project tab to give you more screen space.
Well, yeah, but I want to make sure that if anything is over that, I can't see it. So my goal here is
Okay.
just to actually kind of hint to myself that I might be blocking it. So I can't see it, then you definitely can't see it. Is the idea? If I get close, I should probably be aware of it. Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that was showing, so that's why I never knew about it. So I figured I thought it was squishing my screen to then show you guys on the side. I didn't know it was covering up my screen. That's stupid. All right, time to later on. I'm going to go into the settings to see if I can make sure that the screen share recording, does not record you guys. Because my goal is not for you guys to be captured. You don't need to be captured. So I'll have to check on that later. Oh no, I just hit the video panel for myself. I don't want to do that. Yeah, I'll check on that later. Anyway. All right. So first things first, in order to accept stuff too, and even say stuff, again, we need another entity. So we have our greeting, but this thing's kind of bleh. So let's make something a little more nice. Let's actually create an employee. So we're going to create a new package for this case, just to keep things a little neater. We'll do employees. Yeah. And here, I'm going to go ahead and create a class. We'll do employee. And the model is usually singular, just so you know, singular. That. In Java, actually, there's never, in Java, you're lucky. There's never a thing for singular and plural. Because yeah, the controller just has the word controller. In JavaScript, it would be greeting and greetings. So that's a nice thing you don't have to worry about. Don't worry about plural and singular, which is great. So when I add an additional item here, we want to make sure this is recognized by JPA. So we want to make sure that we use JPA for our local storage and later on our external storage. And JPA, just like Spring Boot, uses annotations to identify things and know what things are. For JPA, that one is entity. We're going to say that this item employee is an entity. It is an individual entity that we can store and record and pull. So we can save it and we can get it. Straightforward, right? Makes sense to say that an employee is an entity, right? Not too weird. We're going to create some items in here. So first off, we have private, like last time, long ID again. So do long ID again. And this time we're going to use the objects in this one. We want to use the objects. We want to have them be objects. So instead of the small l, we use the capital L. Most because I believe JPA cares for that. Oh, because we're also going to add more annotations too. So now ID, we could just leave it as is and say, you know what, it's going to we're going to manage it. Or, you know, JPA being a database system, it's common to have IDs in a database and to have them be automatically generated. And so JPA gives us two nifty little items we can use. We have ID, so you see here. We have Java X persistence. We have ID. I didn't want you to go to a new line while you do that.
Is there something you had to do to get entity to come in? Because I can't get mine to. Oh,
yeah.
You just typed add entity and it came in?
Yeah.
Right there.
Mine doesn't have that.
We did do the JPA and the H2 dependencies, right?
Oh, That okay. No, not for those. I started this before you had put up the classroom
Ah.
assignment, so they're not in there. Okay, I
Gotcha.
understand now. Never
Yep.
mind.
Okay, yeah. This one I think comes from JPA.
Mhm.
We do ID, and we're also going to bring in at generated value. And so what this is going to do is make sure that we don't need to do that atomic stuff like we did last time. JPA is going to handle giving us an ID and automatically generating an incremental ID. Let's do a roll. We'll do a roll. That works for us. Let's see those. Oh, one more item.
So Cliff, is the JPA, is this just with web Java or is this just general Java, the API?
This is just a general Java API that's with Spring in order to do database communication.
Okay.
So JPA allows for Java to communicate with a database. What it really does though is it links database items with Java objects. And it doesn't do any sort of particular items. You can get JPA for SQL and NoSQL. So what it does though is it's a framework or package or library. This is a library that allows you to map objects to database entities.
Is it similar to JDBC?
Yeah,
You know?
it's an
Okay.
alternative. Yeah, that's an alternative.
Okay, thank you.
Personally, I go with JPA because I like Hibernate. So Hibernate's was one of the ones I dug into earlier when I first started digging into Java. So, and Hibernate was very useful for me to be able to switch between SQL and NoSQL. So yeah, that's why I chose it. And I do see you. So unpopular. God, hello, that came out of nowhere.
Hibernate.
Perfect timing. Where's my caffeine? I need more caffeine. So we got those. Yeah, those will be our data types.
We're using
As we know before.
integer, not int.
Sorry, what?
You're using integer and not int.
Again, I believe JPA wants objects.
Okay.
So we're not going to use any primitive types. We're going to use data. We're going to use object classes.
Okay.
Definitely feel free to test it. I just know that in the example, and all the examples
Yeah.
I've done, all the walkthroughs I've done, I've used object classes.
I can't remember. I can't remember that, so I'll just go with you.
Yeah. Yep. That was it. It's one of the things that like I really didn't care to test or not. Like it's fine. I'm perfectly fine using the object classes.
Yeah.
So, we are going to need so in this case, we do want the public employee name, role, and integer page. I should probably start using the generator a bit more to make sure we fit in time, but it's fine. I want you guys getting the practice down. And some of you probably are using the generator without me even knowing. There you go. So you got those. This is another one where I'm not 100% confident this is required by JPA and something I want to test. I just haven't done it yet. But JPA, at least in the tutorials I've seen, they want a also default constructor still available so they can create empty versions of the item, the entity. They apparently need this. I haven't fully tested it yet, but every time I've seen an example entity model, I've seen this in there. So we also need, what is a default constructor? Sanity check.
Or just specifically?
What's that? Colin, did I heard you?
Oh, I was just curious, like you meant specifically, like
Yeah.
character?
Sure.
Well,
yeah. What do we need to
well,
put here?
Beginning and closing parentheses, right? And then just
Yeah.
the brackets, I believe.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Yeah. Semicolon.
Yep. The reason why we need this, by the way, does anyone other than Colin now, and I think Jim I might exclude because you might know, but we'll hold off. Maybe I'll call you Jim, but any reason why I have to have this here? Why do I have to have this here now? We know that if we don't, we know that this is a default constructor. But why do I have to define this one? Sanity check. These can be those trick questions you'll sometimes get in interviews.
Well, my guess, actually, I kind of don't know, but my guess would be, in case I send, and in cases it's been sent an empty constructor, it will accept it.
True, we do need that, but why do I need that? Because if we don't normally need to define this, right? We don't always have to create this, do we?
That's true. We usually
We
don't.
did go over this before, Richard. Yep. That's why this is a sanity check. I mentioned it before. Yes. That's why I said it's a sanity check and not just a, I'm teaching you guys something.
I don't think we actually need to declare it at all, honestly.
In certain situations, no, because in certain situations, we may not need the default constructor.
Oh, unless you
And
want to invoke that specifically and you already have another constructor defined.
there it is, Evan.
Then you
Exactly.
would need it.
We have to define this one because this one exists. Once you create a single constructor that is not the default constructor, then the default constructor no longer exists. If you have a class with no constructor whatsoever, the default constructor exists by default. It's automatically put there. So if you create a class with no constructors whatsoever, we have this one exists by default without having to type it. But as soon as you give it a single constructor, Java will no longer invoke the default constructor. The default constructor doesn't exist. It assumes that if you want both the default and this, you will put it in here. Otherwise, you don't want this. Once you put in a non-default constructor, it assumes you don't want the default. You only want to allow this one. So we need to put this back to say we're okay with a default constructor that has nothing. That's what this does. All right. So now for the fun part in this one. And this is one of the things that I don't like that I have to do this because of what I've taught you guys before. But in this situation, we actually do need getters and setters. Anything that can change and needs to change. So we're going to make this easy on ourselves. So we're going to go ahead and do generate getter and setter. Hit all four. Hopefully I did actually.
This is an entity object. This is an entity object. That's not a normal object like the greeting is.
Right.
So you'll have to set like
because we want people to create records, pull
you have to
records, and be able to modify records with, again, for CRUD. So that's why we need this. With the greeting, we were only ever reading it. We only ever creating it out of thin air and just using it. We were never actually updating or modifying the object. And so this is one of those things where we need these because we're going to be modifying the objects. We've got CRUD scenarios. So that's why we need these. And it's all because JPA doesn't look for public keys. It always uses the get commands and set commands. So that's part of the reason why we need to do this, is that both Spring Boot and JPA, they set themselves up to use the getters and setters, not the dot notation, unfortunately. So it won't do dot name. It won't even attempt it. It just does get name and set name if it wants to do anything with those. We're just going to use the generator in this case to make our life easier. At the same time, though, we can, of course, come in here and add logic, by the way. So we do know that whenever we do want to change the name or update the name, we can put in logic to decide whether or not we actually do change it or not. Same thing with setting the role or getting anything. If we want to add logic to that, we can. So do be aware of that, that you can add logic in here that the system will end up using. Yeah. And so, for example, here, let's say ID, we wanted ID to never change. On set ID here, we're actually just going to do nothing. We're actually going to leave that blank. And so that way, once the ID is set, we're never going to change it, right? So we're always going to be that. Or what we can do really is just do, even just to be sure, this.id equals this.id. We're just going to do self-referential, which is why it tells us it does nothing. So this is something we could do to say, hey, I don't want to actually change it. I do want to, it's something I've always wanted to test, but again, these are just things I haven't had time for in my own situation. Like since I'm never gonna actually change the ID, or update the ID, I feel like I might not need the set ID. What I'm concerned about though is that how JPA might do some of its actions is that we'll actually create the object this way and then build it itself instead of using the constructor. JPA during certain situations may not use the constructor, but instead might build the object by creating a new blank one and then using all the setters to then create it instead. So there's more testing I need to do with this system. I'm mostly just most of the time.
I think
Go
it will take the I think it will take the constructor. I never had a problem with just having the generate ID thing and then have to set it. And it's because it would always you have it automatically generated, so it automatically would generate that number for you.
I'm actually probably going to test these today with you guys, just to
Yeah.
ensure. Like this one, actually, screw it. I'm getting rid of that. I don't want that. We do need to get ID because we do need to be able to read it, but we don't want to change it. So I'm going to get rid of that. I might also try commenting out the default constructors. I don't like the default constructor. I don't think it's necessary, but we'll see. We're going to let it go. Make sure, because I want to make sure you guys are working first, and then we can do some experimentation together. Now you guys can do the experimentation because we're already getting late. Dang it. Right. We have this. We also need to do I need equal item? Wait on that, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna wait on that. Hold off. We are going to do the toString method. And my life easier. Do a whole bunch of concatenation with plus symbols and quotes.
Yeah, just generate.
What's that?
Just generate it.
Generate it? What am I generating?
Right
So,
click it, generate the string.
Cliff, I just got set up on my end with putting in the new stuff from Springboot. Could you copy and paste this code into some sort of chat so that I can catch up without slowing everybody down?
Do you need all of it?
Yeah, yeah, I'm slowly building it, but you're moving up and down, and I don't want to slow everyone else down who's all caught up. So
There is the employee class.
thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
No problem. Equals that. We're gonna do name equals %s again. Role equals %s. Age equals, I'm gonna do %s and just do the toString method on the integer. It's fine. Like that. And then we're gonna do, so we have 4 items. This is the string format, and we need 4 items to fill in. So we're gonna do name, not name, sorry, ID, name, role, and age, string. Good. Ooh, also.
Age is not a string. Age is not a string. Oh yeah, you made it a string. Sorry.
Yep, I did %s here and I did toString there. We're good. So I'm pretty sure I got to double check.
ID is not a string though, is it?
Yeah, what's that?
ID is not a string. ID is a long though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Will this auto run the toString method, I wonder? You know what? Let's just play it safe. toString. I think they have a toFixed method or fixed, so we'll see. No, long is still
Do
entry.
you
never
need
mind.
the toString on the format?
Well, I did %s's. So these are expecting string variables. So because they're %s, it's expecting a string. So I'm playing it safe. It might auto convert, but I don't want to play. I don't want to break it right now. So who was that? I actually don't even know who asked the question.
Who asked the question? That was me.
In
Oh,
my
that was-
experience with IntelliJ, it would gray out if you didn't need it.
True.
Wondering though if it knows that my string wants S's. Let's try. I'm okay with that. If it breaks, we just switch it. It's fine. So all good. Last thing, technically, I will say there is one more thing you can add, which is a how to compare items or how to know if something is equal. So for objects, we're gonna dig on that probably Monday. So I'm not gonna add that today though. So, but there is a equals method that can be very useful to check if a object is equal to itself. So, or equal to the another one. So if we want to see if like the employee of Freddie is equal to another employee, Freddie, we can create a method for that or a code for that, but we're not going to worry about that at the moment. So I don't think that's necessary for today, so we're not going to get into that. But yeah, this is all we need for the moment. So the next thing we need, this is H2 specific. So yeah. No, sorry, JPA specific. This is JPA. So we need to create what's called a repository for the data. So we need to tell JPA, hey, we have how to handle this item. So take a look. I'm going to do employees, new, employee. This is where we're going to store all the items. This is your, oh, I did the wrong thing. I don't want a class, I want an interface. I clicked wrong. Delete, delete, do that again. New class interface. Employee repository. There we go. All we do is do implements. JPA repository. All right. All this is going to do is we just need to tell the system the type of repository we want. And a repository, this is just a list. That's all it is. It's a fancy list. As you'll see here. Oops, I forgot. That I'm going to say it's an employee long. Oh, extends. Dang it. Sorry. The employees repository, we're extending a class. Sorry, JPA repository is a class. Wrong one. So it extends the JPA repository employee long. Oop.
I had my mic turned off. I was asking if you could implement another interface on an interface. I was all
Nope.
kinds of confused.
All good, all good. You cannot. There you go. I just used the wrong term. Thank you. Extend it. And this just lets JPA know that we have a repository for the employees. What this does is this gives like some free functionality, creating new employees, updating existing ones, deleting and finding. So it gives all that.
So in between the, I forget what those terms are, where it says employee and long, does that mean it's like a key value pair? Or
That was my understanding. Again, this is one I didn't look under the hood for, and in my brain, it looks backwards to me. Because in my brain, it would be long employee, because the key would be the long and the employee would be the object. But I'm wondering how JPA repository maybe just contains those differently, because this isn't necessarily a list.
But just
per
highlight
se.
the JPA repository part. It tells you that the ID is long and the T is the object.
Yeah. In my brain, why do they do it in this order? I don't know, but always be aware of that. What you see in the list and map systems is, again, that's just the layout they chose. This is just, how do I word it right? You can imagine these being similar to parentheses, really. These are the parameters we're sending to this class, but instead of being a method, we're sending it to a class. And so we use the angle brackets instead of the parentheses. So
Isn't
they
it
just
the,
decided to be the type of the object and the ID class in this order. Why they did that, I don't know. I would have done it differently, but sometimes you just use the way they did it. What's that, Jim?
oh, I forgot, I was just gonna say, that is with the T, what was that called again? That in,
Type. It's just the
Type.
generic type.
yeah, I know,
concept,
but
so-
what is the syntax? We usually have like this word, like a word with this in here, like this type of, like with the type and stuff. I forgot the name of it. We worked with it, just like, we touched on it like in the last cohort. I mean,
No, yeah, it's a word for it. It's really just, it just stands for object type.
yeah,
It's really
yeah,
what it is. It's just the standard for it. And it's
yeah,
it's called the type parameter or something like that. It's just a
something
type
like that.
parameter.
Yeah, I thought that this was, but it's an interface, but but it looks like it's calling the type and ID. Like you have to pass it through, but okay, yeah,
But what you're doing is you're telling it what the type of the data is and what the type of the class is. I'm sorry, the type of the ID is.
yeah,
So if you use the integer IDs, you have to put integer here. If you use, which I don't know why you do, floats for IDs, you would put the float here. But you're just telling it what the data type for the data is, what the data type for the ID is.
How come just the ID?
it has to be
For
long
searching,
though.
for finding and stuff like that. So that when you want to do a find by ID, it knows what the data type is.
It's very interesting. I think only takes long though. Hold over
Yeah.
long.
And because we're under no obligation to actually name this ID, we don't have to name this ID. And so it's going to scan and try to find an ID, and it's not going to know which one it is. So there's no guarantee this is ID. And at the same time, there's no guarantee, we're not bound by any data type. ID is one of the most important items. It's a queryable item. So I can understand why they would want you to define that item.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
They just want to be explicit on it instead of them trying to search your class to figure out which one should be the primary key. We're going to get more into this as we get into SQL, this concept of what I call primary keys. This is just the item in the database that every single record has a unique value. So there's always one field in a database table that is the unique items that you know how to reference it directly. And that's what this is trying to find. What is that primary key's data type?
Okay, so that's the primary key. All right.
Yeah, it's also, a lot of times they call it ID, but yeah, primary key is very much database or SQL database terminology. So you won't see that everywhere, but
And then the parameter on the left is just whatever type of object
yeah.
we're going to be using
Yep.
with the interface.
The model. Yep.
Okay, great.
Let's see. Make sure there's nothing else I need. Let's get there. I do need to set up the H2 thing.
Set that up. You have to do it in the,
No,
go-
it's not a file I could do.
So are JPA repository methods similar to the map interface or the map collection rather?
In a sense, again, it's not identical. And again, I haven't really looked under the hood, but I do see a similarity there. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't actually looked into to see if it does a hash map, and just trying to figure out if I want to do all this 10 millions. I also want to
H2
load
you
quickly in there.
set up in the resource area for the setting that up.
Actually, no, I don't want to do any sort of preloading yet. Yeah, we're gonna skip that from my notes. Yeah, but let's just not worry about that for a moment. We're good. We're gonna go. I think that we're sure to be set. So let's go ahead and do our controller now. New Java class. Alright, in order for this to be a controller, what's the first thing we need?
REST API or REST controller?
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, there
our
it is.
annotation, remember?
Yeah.
REST controller. And for the fun of it, we're gonna go ahead and do our REST mapping as well, because we have more things. So we're gonna do, why are you not giving me it? Stay there for a second. Request mapping, I'm being dumb, right? we do slash employees. So this is a common API sort of syntax, is that the controller's route is plural. You're gonna have multiple, because the whole idea is that the route is gonna have multiple employees, right? There's gonna be multiple of them.
Mm.
Right. First thing we do is bring in the repository. So we have that storage facility. I'm going to do private final employee repository. We'll call it. This is just the storage facility. And we're also going to bring in the constructor we're going to create a constructor that will instantiate this. So we do need to instantiate it. So simple constructor, which we didn't see before. We didn't need a constructor before because we didn't have anything that needed to be instantiated when this got started. But now that we have this database that needs to be initialized, we do need it. So
Look, why can't it be initialized outside of a constructor?
Because it gets sent in as a parameter. So JPA sends it as a parameter, right? So it's a variable. So it does get sent in. We aren't actually instantiated with like the new keyword. It gets instantiated by JPA and then sent over. So
Is that work the way you have it?
what?
Oh, you're in the controller.
Yeah.
Does that work that way? No, see, it's not working. I don't think it's going to work that way. You need to put auto wire employee repository.
That's one way you could do it. I'm not doing the auto wire.
Okay, because it's turning up red, so I
Right,
really,
I haven't initialized it yet.
okay.
Patience. I finished my line of command. There it goes. It's happy now.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you actually can do it that way. I thought you had to like auto wire it in and have it like go through. But
I haven't played with AutoWire yet myself. We're probably end up using that when we get to SQL though. I believe the AutoWire is more beneficial with the more complex systems, since we're just using a local system. We're not going to worry about it yet. Yeah.
this will be interesting to see it work this way. So it's
Yeah.
cool.
It's all good. Yeah, like I said, we're using H2, so it's just going to create a local instance of it. I didn't get anything right? Yeah, no, I don't think we got anything. Cool. All right, here we go. Keep going. Got that. And we're going to start with a very basic, just get first. So we'll do get and a post. We'll do two items first, get and post. Get all. So these are common ones to get. So with the CRUD, we have CRUD. So let's do this again. Let's do some thinking first. So CRUD, we have create, read, update, and destroy. So the create, we want to be able to create one usually, right? We'll create one entity, one employee. In the read routes, what sort of reading options do we want to have?
Like get requests or
What's the get request? Yes, but get what?
get an
And
employee?
the name, the ID.
We could do get one employee right,
Okay.
by ID. We
Okay.
could do that. Anything else we could do?
Get all employees?
Yes, we might, as a manager, we want to be able to list them all, right? So get all employees. We might want additionals like get employees by name, but that's going to require more fancier stuff because again, we do know that sometimes there can be people with similar names or similar first names, or even honestly, there can be two people named Clifton Shonier. One of them is my dad. So that can be that's going to require a little more effort. So we can start with the two basics though. Get a single employee by one of our query items, by one of our unique fields, and then get all employees. We'll probably start with this one first. Update. So we're probably going to be able to, we want to update a single employee by ID, right?
Yeah.
And last one, destroy. What do we most likely want to do with the destroy?
Delete one employee.
All right.
Yeah.
Probably by ID again, right?
Yeah.
Start working on some of these. So looking at these, some people do like going in the CRUD direction by starting with create, then read, then update, destroy, which is fine. I personally though like to do the get one because that's usually easy. The get all because it's usually requires almost no logic at all. So we're just going to do mapping. This is just going to be the root directory of the get. So slash. This is going to return a list. So flip of employees. It didn't bring in the package, of course. Thank you. Thank you. There we go. I'm going to return a list of all the employees. We're just going to call it all. Very simple. So this is going to be our get all, right? So far, so good. And this makes sense, right? We're going to grab and create a list of all the employees and return that. And this is the benefit of using the repository. I'm going to say right now, by using the repository, we're going to benefit from it. I wonder if I should have done this first. I wonder if I should have just done our own list. I feel like I'm using too much of a package right now. You know what? We're going to test something quick. We're going to comment these lines out. I want to do something simpler first. Not map, sorry. Map. Employee. There it is. Equals sign. There we go. So I'm gonna hold off on the repository just for a quick second because I want to show how the repository later gives you fancy stuff, makes it easier. And I feel like if I do that now, you guys might not see what's actually happening and really get to see the under the hood. And I think I might get more questions like what Colin you had earlier today. So we're going to avoid the repository for a quick second. We're not going to take advantage of that thing yet. We're going to use this first. So just so you can see a little bit better how it works. So let's go. So this is going to return. Let's see, to list, right? Nope, I'm gonna have. There is a way to convert a map to a list. Does anyone remember how to do that? Has anyone in cohort 12 done that before?
No.
List.
Yeah, map to list.
Isn't it just map to list?
I tried that, it didn't there. Collections dot to list, no. Trying to remember how to do that again. I know I can do it. This again, little things like I know I can, I don't remember the syntax.
Array list. Well, you got, oh, you've got to split them in two, right?
What's that?
You're gonna have to split them in two, right?
No,
gotta
I just
keep-
need
you
the
gotta
employees. I don't need the IDs anymore. I just
Oh.
want just the items.
What the value?
Yeah.
Then that would be a list, strings, new array list string,
I
mine,
know.
your map dot values.
Right. I think it's just employees dot values. Yeah. See, it's just a collection already. But I do need. I think it'll. I don't think it'll return. Will it return that? Nope. I do need to still convert it to a list. Ah, dang it.
Yeah.
That's stupid. Array list.
I think you can typecast it.
You think so? You can try that. You think I can just do list?
Well, I typecast it and it doesn't have any errors.
And so if you just put the dot values, it should have worked in the parameter of the constructor.
Wait, that seems to be happy. You said values. value.
I use the list of
Yeah.
employee.
Yeah, we'll do that. That makes more sense to me. Yes, it does seem to like that actually. Yeah, I like that much better. Cool. Typecasting as a list. That's awesome. You can typecast the collection as a list. That seems to like it. I'm gonna stick with that. We're gonna add before we can
Until
test.
it doesn't work.
Of course, yeah, I'm waiting for it. Like I knew the instantiating a new array list. I've seen that before, but this I like. Let's see. But there's one more thing we need before we can test.
So you go wrong, and then you've got the employee has its own ID as well in the employee though. Well, that's okay.
What?
Oh, I see. Okay.
All good?
The employee actually has an ID as well, so you're gonna have an long as being the ID as well as the employee having its own ID. as
Yeah.
well.
The main thing here is that I want to be able to search by the long, by the ID. And do I need to do a map? No, I could just do a list and then iterate through the list until I find the one. But because I don't want to have to iterate through a list, which has an O of n complexity, by using a map, I get an O of 1 complexity because then I can just jump to the ID.
Yeah.
Make sense?
No, it makes sense, but then saying the employee on the other side is gonna have an ID as well.
Well, yeah, then we still want to return that value.
Yeah.
So we do still want to provide that value and include the value in the data. We just want to make sure we also have it as a map, so it's a searchable queryable item. So the next thing I'm going to do is going to actually create, because we can't really test it. Okay, hold on. We could test because we're just going to get an empty list. So you know what? Screw it. Let's do it. Let's run it. So stop and run. We'll get an empty list. It's fine. This will at least tell us if this stuff all works.
You could also make an example employee.
We could, and I know I could in the constructor pre-fill it, but I still want to show that it works with nothing. So get rid of this and then do employees, hit enter, and it yells at me.
Do you add a forward slash? Oh, no, you have to add a forward slash if mapping is there.
Oh, you're right. Hold on. If I look at creating controller, oh yeah, we don't want that there because it's supposed to be the root directory. So there, nothing. Put nothing there. Oh yeah, that deleted that on me. I put that there yesterday and it got rid of it for me. I forgot about that. I got a server error. Uh-oh.
That was 500.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's server error. Remember that one.
That's it, empty list. Hash value cannot be classed as a list.
Huh?
Hash
National
value
values
cannot
can't
be
be cast. Oh, it can't be cast. Ah,
So it
so
did
it,
break.
it allowed it, but it didn't like it. So, all right.
Thanks, Freddy.
New array list. Employee.
Sneezed.
I'll leave that as the code I want.
I believe so too, the one I looked up.
Yeah, that
That's what
should
I
be it.
remember. Yeah, that's the way I remember doing it. So we'll see. We'll work with that. See if that works. Here we go. Reboot. Yeah, this is the method I know of turning a map into a list. Again, part of this is you're going to see once we switch back to repository. This is going to be easier to write. So, all right. Hey, empty array.
Empty.
All right. And what who was it, Jim or Freddie or someone was saying? If we wanted to, we could do public employee controller, another constructor here. In this case, we can just do. I need to move this. Hold on. I don't know why I put it there. Put that back up here. Top. All right. And do employees dot put one. And then do new employee one. Jim role.
Age.
Oh, what? Oh, what?
Age.
Oh, right. Because the constructor doesn't do
Yeah.
okay, I get what I did on me. So finder. Age, make it 25, Jim.
There we go.
Do
And
I have to typecast that? I do.
I think you just type 1L.
You think so? at the end.
Yeah, I think that works. Yeah.
Be capital.
I like that. Oh, capital.
I don't think it changes that much, but it.
It did
allows
like
you
it
to
because
put
it
a
did give me
capital.
the highlight on it. 'Cause when I did that, it was kind of let you give me an alert there. Long literal ends with lowercase L. Yeah, they want the capital L. Okay, fine. There we go. And so this is going to let us pre-fill our database every time we reboot the systems. Every time we reboot it, this is going to pre-fill our database with a single employee. At least that's what it should do. So let's find out. Let's confirm. You like your role, Jim?
Yes. Go find out, that's true.
If I ever forget a semicolon, I leave it at the gym to find it. All right, so like the code, so let's go ahead and find out if we have our pre-filled database. Hey, look at that. Oh,
But
didn't get the
no,
idea.
no,
Oh, right. Because our constructor on the employee field, we
You did put
use
an
the
idea.
generated value. So we're not actually using JPA to fill this out. So for the, just to clarify for a moment, we're actually not using JPA at the moment because that's the repository system. So I am going to create another version of the constructor that allows me to give it an ID. So again, this is where you're going to see why JPA makes this whole thing for us easier. So yeah, so not using JPA, we're using the objects directly. We aren't taking advantage of these annotations right now. So
Oh,
do be
you,
aware of that.
you removed the setter though, so I wonder if it's because it didn't set it.
I don't think so, because I'm not using JPA right now. We just created a generic, we just created a generic map. We aren't using anything JPA related right now.
Yeah, but so the long is null, so it allows a null.
Uh-huh,
Okay.
because it's a object, it's a long object.
Oh, long object, yes, so it
Yeah.
can be null, yes.
Yeah, remember, we have a class long, not the primitive data type long, we have the class long, so it allows for null. Remember, for everybody who didn't understand that, when you have it, remember, classes can be nullified. Primitive types cannot. So you cannot have a null int, you cannot have a null bool, you cannot have a null small l long. But when you have a class, classes can be null. So a class of long with a capital L, since it's the long class, not the long primitive, it can actually be nullified. Yeah. So now we have that. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my greeting controller or my employee controller, and I'm just going to add in one. Yeah, this is one L, right? Yeah. So again, this is us
One leader.
not taking seriously. This is us not taking advantage of JPA yet. So we're not taking advantage of any of the additional features that JPA would give us.
But you put one, you put into the hash map the 1L. Why did it come back null?
Because again, I'm not actually accessing the object. I'm not, this is not,
Oh,
this is
you're
not
only
related to
accessing
the
the
object.
value. That's right. You're not
Right.
accessing the key, only the value.
Mhm.
Right, right,
Yep.
right. Okay, yep, that's true. All right.
Good stuff. And again, I'll stop in a second to make sure people can ask any questions if any of these lines don't make sense yet. Let's do that, make sure it works. You see, there's our ID number. We have IDs now there. Cool.
Mine is not.
Okay. I am expecting that because we did a couple changes here. So I'm switching things around. So who wants to share their screen first?
I'll go first because I think I'm the most confused.
Okay.
I
was expecting this.
I challenged that, Matt.
You have
Oh,
a
okay.
404
all right.
So I will say you currently have a 404. So
Right,
it's-
that's why
it's
I'm
not
really
a
lost.
server error, which is fine. Let's go check your setup.
Sure.
So you have the REST controller there. We have the request mapping employees. Oh, get rid of the get mapping parentheses. So get rid of the parentheses around that because we're using the root directory. We don't
Oh.
actually need that there. Right.
This right here, get rid
Yeah,
of
The
oh,
parentheses. Yeah.
and
Oh, the
everything
whole thing
inside.
inside.
Yeah,
of it,
okay.
too. Yep. Just like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I forgot that you don't want to explicitly say the slash. Otherwise, you actually have to add the slash at the end, and most
Oh.
browsers will get rid of that on you.
All right, let's see if that did it. That'd be nice.
I did
Okay.
that kind of quick.
Cool.
There you
All
go.
right.
Cool. Just update your constructor to allow for IDs.
Right. Yep.
Cool.
Okay. All right, Sergio, floor is
you're
yours.
up. I think Sergio may have won. Yours is not that difficult.
I thought I was a lot more lost than I turned out to be, which
Hold on,
I'm
I
happy
gotta-
being any day of the week, but
I
God, it's such a
I
rough
gotta
week.
move stuff around. Right, so
All
I
good.
can share on the second screen. Okay, so fresh. Oh, you know what? I gotta stop and rerun. But yeah, I'm not pulling the oh, my ID went away. Hold on, I'm lost.
I
My
love
ID still no.
I'm
I think
trying.
it's here. My problem is here. I have I got a little lost with the changes you did here because we have like the
Yeah, he added one more constructor.
Yeah, I just added
the ID.
Yeah, so just copy that constructor,
okay, and then just gonna add it right here.
paste
And
again,
then,
and then we're just gonna add in front of name an ID. So long ID,
Okay.
Yep. comma. Yep. And then this dot ID equals ID. That's it.
Okay, so then it wasn't that bad. I
Nope.
was I'm like in
I know.
slow mode.
I know. I'm doing a couple extra things here, a little quickly because I wanted to show a little more aggressive version versus using JPA right away. So if you guys can see that underline what's
Right.
happening. and what
Not
we're doing.
working because I didn't add it on the thing here.
Yep. One more time. Right in the
No,
yep,
right here.
Yep.
One.
One L, comma.
Give me a sec. All right,
There you go.
that'll fix it.
Yep,
Okay,
That's
cool.
it. Cool. Anybody else? Now's we're at a checkpoint moment. So anybody else having issues?
Yeah, I can't get mine. I'm getting a 500 error.
Go for it. Share your screen, please.
Might have missed something when I ran to the bathroom.
I see OpenShift, just so you know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No need to apologize. I'm just letting you know we're on the wrong. You're probably showing us a wrong screen. That's all. Cool. All right, here we are. So let's go ahead and take a look at the error message and scroll up a bit.
Okay.
Oh, he's
Down
got
below.
he's got the site casting up there.
What's that? Oh, close that. I think Jim saw it. Go back to
Yeah,
IntelliJ.
he's still got typecasting on 32.
Oh yeah, so 32, instead of doing the typecasting, so keep the whole line, just get rid of the typecasting, that list employee typecast, the parentheses. Get rid of that thing. Get rid of all of it.
Oh, all of it. All right.
Yeah. Not that, keep the employees dot value. Keep employees dot value.
Yeah. Those-
Right here, though, we're gonna do instead, we're gonna do new array list. Yep.
Right. Oops.
Oop, I don't know why I did that to you. Add a space quick. Oh yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Employee, then in the parentheses, just that. Yep.
I'm not sure if
That
that'll fix
should-
his error, but I know that was one of them.
Oh, you didn't import array list. There we go. That should do it.
So start and rerun everything.
Yeah, you'll probably you're still gonna have the empty array, but you'll have an empty array at least.
All right.
Did you reboot? You didn't reboot the server yet.
Yeah. It's a little slow on the draw.
Ah, gotcha. It's all good. Still loading. Starting Hibernate Core. Still going. Still going. And started.
Okay, great. Thank
Cool.
you.
Don't see the empty array syntax, but at least you're getting a response, which is what we're
It's in
checking
there.
nothing yet.
It's
Oh, there it
just
is, raw. Yep.
data.
Okay, cool. Yep,
Yeah.
that's what we want to see. Cool. Awesome. Anybody else?
I don't know how to. I think it might have worked, but I don't know how to call it from the browser.
/employees. So localhost 8080 /employees.
Well, I had to do something different because,
So the same
I
thing we
will-
did Tuesday.
yeah, no, that's not
What-
right.
Not your, so make sure you're not using your project, you're using ours.
I did use my project because my Tuesday project stopped working. So I put it here,
Ow.
but see that I don't know how to call this.
The
from
get
the-
mapping on line 32. Remember to get rid of the parentheses around it.
What was that?
Line 32. We want just get mapping, nothing after it.
Not this.
Yep, get rid of that. All right, rerun it.
Would you
Scroll up a
call
little
the?
bit.
Did you?
I was gonna
yeah,
say, scroll up a little bit. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Slash
Let's go
associates.
back.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to check on that.
Yes, I called it
Associates.
associate. So is it like employee then slash
Nope, it's
associate?
just slash associates. No
So
employee,
here,
because you never typed that anywhere, so it'd just be just associates.
so if I
Thank
have
you.
to put something, don't I?
Nope.
Oh, ta-da,
That's it.
Ah, there you go.
Beautiful.
thank you.
All right. Well done, everybody. All right, we've got one more thing we're gonna do today because we're not gonna get to update or delete or show a single yet today. We're gonna do that because we're already at 8:30. Dang it. Anyway, it's fine. We'll be able to do a little more testing, a little more practice with this. And actually, I might even challenge you guys to try to come up with your own. So, but here we go. Now we want to do a post. We want to create because we pre-filled, but we want to also add our own into it. So for the moment, we're gonna do, by the way, I don't like this here, so we're actually gonna bring in that atomic long again, by the way. Let's do that because we just realized I don't want to have to keep trying to increment this myself. Actually, we could, because it doesn't, yeah, hold on. I should be doing that anyway. Long. Employees dot size. Right? What is that yelling at me for? Cannot cast into long. Why not?
Because the employees dot size is an int. Are you trying to cast
Right.
it long though?
Yeah. Yeah, I can do that. I was trying to cast to an object. You're right. Yeah. Do that, and I can do the same, and I can do +1, by the way. +1. Same thing here. +1. And then just as long. There you go. Look good? Understand what's going on there?
Yeah, it's a bit repetitive though. Do we want to
Yeah.
make a separate thing to have that elsewhere so it's not calculating that twice? Or
That's what I was trying to consider. I was trying to consider using the atomic thing, do
Mhm.
that, but then, yeah. Long. ID. Enter. Do here is counter dot increment and get. Over here, we're just going to get though, because this is in order left to right. Get. My understanding, this should run first. So it should increment it by 1 and then get it. And then this one should just get the new value without incrementing. Make sense?
Mhm.
Same time, we could also just do ID equals this, and then do ID E. And that's probably safer. So I actually haven't tested if there was two going on at the same time, if there's a chance that second one might actually get the update from the first 2 versions, where it might update, and then get on here. So you know what, we're gonna do this. Because yeah, we'll increment and get, and then we'll get a non-atomic version here. So if it does change in another instance somewhere else, we don't accidentally use the updated version. You got to think about scalability. If there was, let's say, our server is getting hit by 100 different versions at the same time, we don't want. I want to make sure that I'm always getting the same number on this one. So I'm going to do that. The other version, of course, of this is that I would actually just do the new employee here with the increment and get, and then I would do employee.id, that get ID, and employee here. But we're just going to do it this way. This should be this should be atomically safe, is what I'm trying to say. Doing it like this should be atomically safe. Add them. And now let's go ahead and do the post. Now the new stuff. Well, not that was actually not that new. So anyway. Straight ahead, very simple. Post mapping instead of guest mapping. We're using different verbs. We just do the verb mapping.
Cliff,
And
could you
yes,
just go back to that last thing just a second?
line 16.
Why?
Got the atomic long ID counter, new atomic long, so similar to what we did on
No,
Tuesday.
no,
Then the employee, the constructor.
yes.
So you did the long ID equals ID counter dot increment and get, and
Yeah, I
then
got
the
that.
put is just ID ID.
Put ID.
Everything else is left the same.
It is ID.
Yeah, we just get rid of the 2 1Ls with ID.
Have something. All right, thanks.
No worries. And so we're gonna do post memory. Now here's an interesting thing. Do I have to give it a new URL or an endpoint? Because this is using the root one, right? So do I have to give this one a new one? Some of you might know this, some of you may not.
I just can't remember at the moment.
So
Let me
foggy,
know.
the JavaScript stuff.
No worries. I'm gonna let you know you don't actually. So because it's a different verb, it's gonna behave differently. So a get route will only ever trigger this. But if we do a post on the same URL, it won't trigger this. A post on the same route won't trigger. A post will trigger this only. So we actually can use the exact same route for creating as we can for getting all. So we do this, I'm gonna do public. In this case, we're going to return a single employee, the employee that was created, the new employee that was created. Employee. Call that. We could also call it create employee, but I like new employee, so works for me. And in this case, we're going to use another. I think this is going to be the final different annotation we're going to need for these. This should be our last one. There's others, I'm sure, but these are the main ones you're going to know. We had the, let's look back again. We had the request param. We had path variable. And the last one we're going to care about, request body. And this is where most of the data from post requests occur. Most post requests include the data in the body of an HTML. So that way it's harder for people to see it because it's not going to show up in the URL. And this is where we can also send varying types of data. We could send JSON, we can send raw text, we could send an image, we could send whatever can fit in the body of an HTML of a file. You can send binary data and stuff like that. So we can send XML, the old version of how you used to send data before JSON was a thing. Before JSON existed, you used to send data via XML format. That was the most common way of sending data, which just to let you know, it was pretty much HTML tagging, but just in data formatting. So you had a tag to identify the field and then the data inside. And so you doubled up a lot of stuff. So we do the request body, and this, we're just going to tell it what form that request body should be. And we want to accept an employee, right? That's what we're expecting here. We're expecting to get an actual employee in the body, that the JSON object sent to us in this request should match up to an employee. That the fields there, whatever fields we see, should be able to match up. And at least we should be trying to match them up. So if there's additional data, we don't care. If there's less data, don't worry about it, just nullify those. And that's right there is why we want to use the integer and long data type, not the primitive. Because if the user forgets to include the integer, then the system's going to be broken. We won't be able to map it because we can't nullify int. Because we're using the data type, if the user doesn't include age, we'll get a null age value. The age field will be null. If we used int, the age field would be most likely 0 because we know how int can actually be null. It'll default to 0. There's a chance that JPA might kill it, but again, this is why we use the data type, so we can have nullable fields. So if the person who sends in the post request doesn't include that key in their JSON, we just have a null value. Sound good? All right. So with that, we get the item in.
And conversely, when we start learning SQL, you can say not null to make sure that
Yep.
put in something.
Yeah, and again, that'll be with JPA and Hibernate. Yep, 100%. JPA and Hibernate will allow us. We could actually, I think we can add that right now if we wanted to. We could say right here. Not null yet. So we can identify it, but because we're not using JPA.
I think you
gonna
gotta put
yell.
above it.
Oh, really? Oh, right. I think you're right. I forgot. It's like I was using it like this.
Oh, I think allow you to do that like you did it, but I think some of these need to
Yeah.
be like on top just to.
Yeah, it's weird how they change and stuff. Like some of these can be in line and some of them have to be above line, but we can add that. But again, since we're not using JPA, nothing's going to enforce this yet. So do be aware of that. This is not going to be enforced unless, is that enforced by JavaScript? It didn't import that.
I think that's just it's one of the annotations that's with Java.
I think you're right, because I didn't notice we didn't import it from Java X. So that actually might actually work and not allow it to be null, which might also break our system right now. You know, I'm going to hold that off for the moment because we're not using JPA. So I'm going to hold off for a moment, but it won't break. What I mean, we'll get up by
I think the annotation works between the private and the integer.
Yeah, what I'm
but
trying to think though is
as
whether or
well.
not Spring Boot will give us a 400 or a 500 if we do that, and the user forgets to include age. Because what it's going to do is when Spring Boot gets the information, it's going to try to do new employee and put in and map the data from the HTML request body. It's going to look for those keys. Going to say, hey, for ID, put it here. If I don't find ID, no. It's then going to say, hey, for name, grab name out of the JSON data. Is there a name field? If there is, put it here. Role, if there's a role key, put that here. If there's age, put it here. If we do not know and the HTTP request does not include age, it's not going to be able to do that. The new command is going to fail because they're not null. What I don't know is whether or not JPA or sorry, Spring Boot will kick back with a 500 or a 400. Or 400 is a bad request. And that's usually what we want to tell a person if they gave us something, if they didn't give us something we wanted. We usually want to tell them, hey, bad request, you forgot something. 500 just tells them, hey, we broke. You did fine, you were good, we broke. But that's not the case. They forgot to give us information. So we want to tell them you forgot to give us info. So we can test that in a second. I want to make sure this works first, and we'll add more annotations and see what happens. Let's make the basics work.
I think I missed something real quick. I saw that you were typing something that was not null, and then my
Yeah,
computer
got rid of
freaked
it.
out, and I missed what. Oh, you got rid of it?
Yeah, we're not going to do that
Okay,
yet. 'Cause
okay, good.
I want this to work as is first, and then we can add other stuff to see how it behaves.
Okay.
I want the
Yes.
basics first. MVP.
I had a Norton pop up that just wrecked my entire Zoom feed for like 30 seconds. So I missed all of what you were typing, and I couldn't figure out what it was a mess. Anyway,
Wasn't
sorry.
typing.
Good, glad.
All good. So we have the new employee right now. All we're gonna do quick is we need to create an ID. Get, and then we're gonna create and add that employee to our list. We're just gonna do employees.put. Also, I forgot. New employee. We do need set ID, don't we? Yeah, I just realized JPA is going to use set ID. Dang it. Because when this comes in, our user is not going to provide us an ID number, are they? Nope. So yeah, JPA most likely wants that.
Well, the way you have the, oh, well, I guess, yeah.
No matter what, we need it for what we're doing right now. Because when we get the item here, it's not going to come with ID. The expectation is in our post request, we're not going to include the ID for the new employee. The website's going to assign it, right? The database is going to assign it. So we do need a set ID method. So added that back. So for anyone who's wondering, in your employee object, I re-enabled the set ID method.
I was wondering why it didn't yell at me. It's because I didn't comment that.
There you go. That works.
Right out of the end.
ID, comma, new employee. There we go.
Then return.
Yep. Return new employee. So we see what this does, right? So what it does is it comes in, what is it? Spring Boot maps the request data to a new employee object, new employee class. We go ahead and increment our counter. So we have our new ID number for the new employee that we just got in. We give that new employee the ID because we know that the users didn't set it. So we need to make sure we set it. But this new object won't have an ID when we first get it. We then added it to our list. And then we return that new employees to the people know that they got that was created, and they also get their ID number. So that the front end can have that ID number if it needs it. Let's see if this works. So now for the fun part, we need to do post requests, and we can't do that from a browser. I can't tell it to do post from this here. Now the tool I use is something called Postman, but I feel like it was a couple months ago, someone mentioned a in-browser tool that they've used. Someone remember what that was?
They have an extension for Chrome, Postman does.
Yeah, it does now, but I just have it running on my local system.
The other one was Insomnia.
That's what it's called.
They do also have a standalone also you can run. You don't have to run in the browser, but yes, they have one runs in the browser.
What's that one called?
Insomnia.
Rest? What? Well, I'm gonna get Insomnia cookies if I hit that in right now.
Oh, Rest. Yeah. Put in-
Rest.
I
Okay.
go, yeah, put in Insomnia Rest.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there it is.
So I need to log in.
You can get started for free, I think, or there was a plugin for this. If you just get the plugin for it. This is where the standalone app is. You need to go to the store and get the plugin.
I think it needs to be local anyway. Just remember because we're doing local host anyway. So you know, what? I'm gonna use my Postman.
Okay.
Well, yeah, local.
Gotta support the post service these days.
Totally.
Wait a minute, Mr. Postman.
// localhost : 8080. And so the reason why we use this is one, we can do get requests. So we can see again that I do here employees, then enter, we get our pre-filled. But now I'm gonna do another one. I'll grab this again.
Let me just stuff the yield postman here.
You might need to,
Oh,
so I did need to download it, by the way. And so I have what's called the Postman agent, and that's why I can do local stuff. So I did have to download the Postman agent. And so it does, it runs a Postman server in the background, and that's what I technically connect to. So it is connecting to a instance that's running on my local computer. That's what Postman agent does.
Oh,
They changed how they run it. It's not a standard, it's not an app that runs on your computer anymore. They've changed it recently, so it's hard to explain. If you want to, you can definitely do this after class, because I didn't think about doing this today. So this is unless you have another way of testing a post. You can also technically do a curl command.
Yeah, the curl command is
Test this for everybody for a quick second. Go into your terminal, type curl, localhost.
I have to go into PowerShell for Windows to know how to use curl.
Oh, Jesus.
That's
Maybe
okay.
not.
PowerShell.
Maybe
PowerShell.
not. I don't want to. I don't know if like anyone else in Windows knows PowerShell.
PowerShell is just like a regular DOS prompt. So,
I know.
And
Yeah.
in fact, PowerShell I recommend to everybody because it runs like Linux. You can run the Linux commands and
There
everything.
you go. So you can try this, by the way, as well. So you can do curl on it and test that.
What's that full command look like?
Just curl localhost 8080/employees right here.
Got it.
That'll make sure that the curl, mostly you're doing that first just to see that the curl command actually works.
the program. needs to be run.
No, it did not.
Program needs to be ready.
You get a,
You
Yeah, URI prefix not recognized.
Mhm. Aha.
or something.
dang it.
Oh,
You did
okay.
PowerShell, right? Hold on, Matt, you did PowerShell?
I'm in PowerShell.
Damn it. I'm trying to think of how you guys can do a post request without having to download stuff, so you can do this quick.
I mean, mine worked.
Good. Yeah, the main thing is just trying to get you guys to be able to do a post command. Because you can't do post via the hold on.
But
The curl thing.
How did you do it then, Sergio?
I went to the terminal. I typed the curl localhost.
Make sure that it's http:// before localhost.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, you can add that and see if that works.
I didn't have to do that.
I didn't have to do that on mine, but let's try it.
Oh, I had to do it and then it worked.
Okay, yeah, definitely try it. Feel free to try it. I'm always game with that. Maybe you need to do it on yours.
Hey, I got it. Thank
Okay,
you for
cool.
that.
All right, cool.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't know why my brain is like. I always go to my brain. I always blame my brain. I don't know why.
And then to do the next thing I want you guys to do, so we're gonna do curl, just for the fun of it. Here we go. Curl -x, capital X, post, all caps. Do http://localhost. This is gonna look fancy when you do this in front of the interviewer. Employees. And then we're gonna do -H, capital H. And this is saying the content type. So this is getting a header. We need to let the server know that we're sending them JSON. Otherwise, they're going to expect raw text. And so this is now Postman does this automatically, just so you know. This is why in Postman it's a little easier because we're doing curl, we're doing something a little more raw. We have to do the more of the raw extra work. So this is going to be content type. Make sure to type it exactly as I type it. So capital T dash TYPE colon application / JSON. All right.
1 second.
Single quote.
Single quotes, yes.
Type, colon application / JSON. Got it.
Again, double check it, make sure you type it right.
Content type space.
Sorry, because if you type it wrong, you just hit the up arrow and you just
Oops.
use
slash.
the
Fix
arrow,
it, but yeah.
go in and fix them.
Yeah. Yeah, if you get it wrong, after we hit enter, you can always hit the up arrow to get the thing you just typed, so you can arrow around and fix the small mistakes, but hopefully you just pay attention the first time and get it done the first time. We'll see though. The
Right.
last one we need to do is we need to add the data. That's gonna be -D. And this is where we get a little annoying. We have to type JSON ourselves without the nice syntax. So
Oh man.
single quote to start, curly bracket, double quote around the key, so name, and then double quote around the data. Add yourself, hell, add me, just so you know you type the same thing exactly as I do. So Cliff,
Oh, I kind of remember doing this.
yep, another double quote, role, developer, and then quote age, and numbers don't have to have that. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put myself at 30. I'm gonna give myself a couple years off, but and then we can close the JSON and do the single quote to finish that off. So again, double check what I have, make sure yours is similar. Keys must have double quotes around it, and strings must have double quotes. Numbers do not need double quotes. Other than that what you see there is what you need.
I think I got it.
All right. If this doesn't work, I'm gonna be testing on my Postman to make sure it's right, but this should work.
Explosion, here we go.
Yeah.
Hello.
Enter
Did
at the
not.
same time. Oh.
Cannot
doesn't-
bind parameter headers.
Really?
Cannot convert the content type application JSON.
I forgot to reboot my
value.
server. So mine wasn't angry. I just got a method not allowed because my server doesn't know that the post mapping works because I forgot to reboot my server. So I'm
Oh.
going to redo mine.
Not
So-
resolve host application. Not found path, whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
remember to reboot your server, by the way.
Hmm.
I forgot to reboot my server. So rerun the program. Remember, restart the program, the reset button on the program. Make sure that that path is available. And then you can hit the up arrow to recreate, to pull back the exact command you just typed.
Why is employee not found now? Hold on.
Yeah, still got the same problem.
Mine worked. Okay.
Yeah, it worked.
So we can check yours in a second. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do yours first. Go
Sure.
ahead and share.
Here it comes.
All right, up arrow again.
Where am I? There I am.
Yeah. Post HTTP.
Oh, expose.
I don't know what's wrong with mine.
Age
Whoops,
content.
what does it say? Cannot find perimeter headers. Cannot convert the content table.
G.
String. I'm gonna need more of your help on this one, Jim, because this is
Oh, sorry.
PowerShell. It looks fine to me.
It looks fine to me too. I don't see anything wrong here. It looks like exactly what you typed in. Info focus cannot bind parameter headers, cannot convert content type. Value system string. System string though. Are they endings a string? At line 1, character 49.
No, it would be in here.
Long ID, employee, new employee. That's fine. And then your
Oh, I
employee.
think his there's a chance that his might be an alias for invoke web request. Yep, it is. God damn it.
What?
You're not using the actual curl.
Oh,
He's
okay.
using invoke web request, which some Windows systems do. Great.
Yeah, because something like curl might be an alias for another thing in PowerShell to do a curl type request.
Okay.
You can alias, like if you do ls, if you type in ls, you get a directory. Type in dir, you'll get a directory, and because they're all aliases.
But do this, hold on. Before we instead of telling you what it's doing, just hit the up arrow, go back to curl. Oh, you already did. Sorry, down one. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Go back to where it says curl and do curl.exe. Try that.
Okay. Go
The other one
on.
you have to do is dot / but I don't think that would work.
Try that.
There you go.
Aha. Well, kind of.
I got a
It did
404
say-
error.
Yeah, it did say that the bad request. You got a bad request. 404 400
you-
error.
Oh, 400, excuse me. I
Did you
can't
reboot
read.
your server?
I did right before I ran this. I can do it again though.
Might as well, but yeah, I'm thinking you're fine. We have to just check the data, the JSON data. Probably.
Right. Okay, that's up. I love this new gaming laptop. Oh my god.
All
Hit
right.
that again, but yeah, bad request. So let's take a look at what this is.
Hey, I got Postman to work.
Nice.
Rub it in Matt's face.
I got Postman working over here almost fine, but I want to
Yeah.
learn this new stuff.
Name for developer that looks like a valid
Error, bad request.
JSON.
What's what it says path, so go to your here's over here.
It's fine.
Where do you want me, Jim?
Yeah, the controller though. Go over to the top.
Yeah.
Employee, oh no, employees is right. So your mapping is right. So it's just a bad request, meaning like a bad mapping.
Do I have to have
Hold on a
the
little bit.
age before the do I have to put the age before the role because that's the way I have my mine set up?
Let's try it. I don't think so, but that is gonna be that's something to try at least.
Okay. So I'll pop this at the end and
Yeah.
then I can
Age right in the
insert
middle.
into here.
Double quote.
Da-
Yeah.
da-
Double quote, comma,
Bam, and then
Number.
30
comma.
like
Good.
that. Okay, and that looks good.
Yeah, you technically have an extra space there, but it's fine.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Hit enter.
Now,
Nope, still doesn't like it. Okay, I didn't
still
think
doesn't
so.
like it.
Weird.
Can you go over to the run and see if Java is giving you anything?
Curl exe.
Nope. Java doesn't want to tell us why it's doing a bad request.
No, this seems to be fine, and it was working.
Frame, it says, yeah, not readable exception, but those are normal, I think.
Yeah. No, I was just expecting them down in the bottom. Not seeing anything there. Why is this yours the bad request?
And the other curl worked by just getting
Yes, the
Yeah,
let me get up to it if
Well,
it's still in
do-
here.
Yeah, do
Yeah.
a couple up arrows to the normal to the other curls. Yeah, up. That one.
This one right here.
Yeah, and just switch that to curl.exe.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Curl.
Just make sure. Yeah,
It's
Uh,
interesting, no?
yeah. See that works.
Yeah,
fine.
that works
Why the
just
heck
as
does
just
not
fine.
like you?
Put it back to the other one.
Just the curl.
No, the one
Up,
that
up.
working.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
This
we
one
go.
here
The
that
only thing
wasn't
I'm
working.
concerned about is that I don't know if using curl.exe is going to allow those other like extensions or wonder. So hit enter again one more time just to see the error message. So timestamp, add request, path employees. It doesn't show me what if it actually did the post request or not, if it did post or not.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if curl. Again, this is Windows. I don't know if Windows allows curl.exe and allow all the flags and stuff. I don't know. Dang it, this is a Windows issue. Damn you, Windows. That looks fine to me. Name, page 30, role.
This part over here is right. I don't need the quote separating the content
no.
type and then around the application.
No,
do
no,
I?
that's accurate.
Okay.
Actors post.
This is a lowercase d that's supposed to be like that.
Lowercase d, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm just looking for the tiny little errors that could slip by.
Mm-mm. Yeah, it's getting the right path. Content type is make sure application JSON is spelled right.
APPLICATION content type. Host
That's right.
80. Yeah, my spelling can get the best of me. My brain likes to flip things around.
It's all good.
That would have to be the keys, not the values, that would mess it up if they were spelled wrong.
Problem is we didn't do any sort of, there's no catching yet. We have nothing to do catching to do troubleshooting yet. And I haven't, that's not something I was planning to do for a little while. So
Mhm.
I'll have to do that later, but if you can get Postman working to check and see if this works, that'll be good just to see if it works, to see if it's a problem with curl or it's a problem with the server. I know if you
Right.
have Postman.
Yeah,
So
I
we can
do.
later on. Yeah.
So
I'm gonna do Postman now. So I'll show everybody how to do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I will give you
Those
the
who have
floor then.
Postman. Yeah, cool. So those who have Postman can see how Postman works.
We did it a little bit with
Yeah.
JavaScript APIs.
No worries. So again, localhost 8080 employees, switch to post those. I'm gonna now post. I'm gonna click on body and raw and switch to JSON. And so by doing this, it's going to automatically add in the header later on, once I start typing, the content type application JSON. So that's one of the benefits of Postman. I'm gonna go ahead and do again. I'll go ahead and add Matt.
Yeah.
Roll VR Postman. Yeah. And age. You're going to be a immortal human, so 487.
Implying I'm not already. I certainly feel it after this week.
We'll go with it. So you got that one, and that's pretty much it. So once I have that all in there, again, go back to headers. We see that there's 9 hidden. If I click on it, we'll see that there is content type here, application JSON. So by filling out the body with raw JSON, it automatically adds the header for me. So that's one of the benefits of Postman. It does some stuff automatically for you, which helps out. I'm going to go ahead and send it. And we see that mine gets put through. It also helps with the formatting. So you get the multiple lines, you got the color formatting, which is all nice. So,
And you get the status over there, says 200, okay.
yep, you also get to see the status. Yep.
And it worked through Postman. Okay.
There you
So it's
go.
curl. Okay, so as long as we know it's curl, that was the problem, not your system. Cool. Okay. Must have something with those flags.
I sent
Anybody
it.
else?
I sent it and nothing is happening through Postman. Am I doing something wrong?
Probably. Go ahead and show.
Probably.
It should return the new employee.
Hold on. Let me just put Postman here. Oh Jesus Christ! Hold on. Everything's
That's the get on the post. Well, right now you're getting. You're not posting.
Oh Jesus Christ! It's Postman. Not
Also,
getting-
hold on.
Not
And
getting-
right there, you see where it says text next to raw. So on that same line, we see the raw. Scroll
Yeah.
over to the right. Switch that to JSON. There you go. Now send.
Yes.
There it is.
There you go.
Immortal man. And then okay.
Now,
Sweet.
before we do anything else, without rebooting your server, let's redo that GET request again, by the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take it over again.
And then this is what I was getting, by the way,
Yeah.
real quick.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you
I
took it.
over.
No, that's fine. No, that's
Yeah.
fine. That's fine. That's fine. Go
So
ahead.
now that we've done that, and you see my ID shows 3, I'm gonna go back to my GET request right here. I'm gonna go right here and do it. I'm gonna re-get, and you can see I have all those all three employees I created. I have Jim, myself, and Matt in my list now. And in Postman, I can do the same thing. On the first screen, I do the get request this time. I hit send and I see all 3 records. So see how we're persisting as we do our posts. We're pushing these people to our list and we're saving these people permanently. We're creating, right? So we see that the post is creating and our get is doing the reading. See how those are working?
Yeah.
So far, so good. We'll do one last item and then I'll give you guys the homework for tomorrow. And then I'm going to check in with RNL and figure out where that friggin' item is. So how we'll work on that is you guys will get the, we'll send you guys the form tonight. Once you complete the form, just message me. We'll probably start the hackathon around like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. Once we get people's teams set up and all that stuff, so you'll have some time to fill it out. We'll put more details, of course, in the Slack channel. Fortunately, Arnell was probably in the middle of class, so wasn't able to respond to the form right
I
away.
was wondering how you got the ID working, but it's because you have it there. I thought you got it generated.
No, because we're not using
Yeah.
JPA. No, we're not doing that. We're gonna do that on
And
Monday.
I was like, mine's not generating.
we'll do that stuff on Monday. So we'll do all the JPA stuff Monday. I figured, like, again, by doing this, you're seeing it a little more raw. You're seeing that step-by-step process. So once we bring in a JPA, we're going to see that the commands are a lot simpler. We're just going to run some methods.
Yeah, configuring the H2 in the resource area there is a little daunting a little.
Yeah.
It's not hard, but it's just
Well,
like a little
I
setup
wasn't even-
to get it
yeah.
working.
Yeah, I wasn't actually planning to use H2 yet either. I was just going to use, like I said, the repository. So,
Oh, okay.
but again, we'll see. And even then, I'm still going to base, we'll see what we're going to do. I'm still debating if I want to do that or just go straight to SQL, but I want to use the repository. I want to show that simpler stuff. But again, you'll see what happens on Monday.
Mhm.
I like this though more because again, based on some of the questions I got today, seeing this low level version of it, I think is going to help. Seeing how each of these routes, what they're actually doing, kind of seeing it a little more without a database, just with a simple list. So what I'm going to do is going to do one more get mapping. And this one I'm going to do /ID. All right. And so this makes sense what we're doing, right? What's this one? What type of route is this again?
So
Oh, what?
I am muted. This is a get.
Not just a get, let's think more about
this
it.
is-
param.
Yeah,
I
that's
want to do this actually, I realized, just to save us later. Oh no, I don't want to do that. I want to do this, yeah.
No, that's fine like that.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if you want to find by ID, then you could do find and then /
We can do that, but
ID.
it's fine right now. This is
Yeah.
gonna be similar to what we had with Twitter. So this is get mapping. What did we call this one again though? When we have this type of item here, what kind of route is this?
Oh, geez, I have it.
Use the D.
Dynamic URL.
There it is. Say it again, Cullen.
Oh,
Dynamic URL.
Yeah, it's a dynamic URL or dynamic route. Yep.
got it. Okay.
Yeah, because we're not statically typing anything. It's not a static route. It's a dynamic route. This is something that we have an infinite number of what this could be. There's no stating what this is. It's dynamic. We can make whatever is in there, it will grab. And public, we're going to return a single employee this time for this get. So the get up here returned a list of employees. This one, I'm going to return a single employee. So I'm going to say get employee, or this one, just do employee. I'm going to do you remember what this one was? What the annotation was to grab the one from the URL? See if you can remember before looking, but if you can't, give it like a minute, see if you can remember it. If not, we can go look at the other page, the other object, but see if you can remember it.
Path variable.
Or path, let's see if something pops up. Hey, look at that, path variable or path param. We have two options. Which one? We want to do, we still stick with path variable?
Yeah.
Yep, all right. We'll put that in. Let's go ahead and take a look. We'll go to the greeting controller and you've got it. Did you look or did you remember?
Oh, remembered.
Nice. And of course, you have no way of proving if you're telling the truth or not, so we'll just take your word for it. So, path variable, long ID, just like we had over here. String name, but this one I'm going to do a long ID. I'm pretty sure I can do that. Again, this is actually not, this is gonna be good to test to see if it'll accept a ID number as a long or it has to be string, but I think it will convert it for us, or at least attempt to. I believe Spring Boot will attempt to convert that into a number. Worst case scenario, we take it as a string and do a parse long. We'll try that first. Least amount of code, the least amount of code, the better. And now you'll understand why I did a hash map. By doing a hash map, I can simply do return employees.get ID. Kind of nice, right? If we did a list, if our database was a list, I would have to iterate through that list to find the employee with the ID number that I wanted. By doing a hash map where the key is the ID, I have a way of just getting based on that ID, and I can just jump straight to it. So now do we see why we use the map? Kind of nice, right?
It works, it works.
Let's find out. Let's see if it works. Unfortunately, this means we will have to reboot our server. So what's going to happen to our data?
Oh, it's not stored in the local.
Unfortunately not. We're not using any sort of local storage right now. We're just using in-memory storage right now. So as soon as I reboot, if I go back to my Postman, we'll see as soon as I do get all employees, I only have Jim again. So I'm going to go ahead and do two things. I'm going to go to my terminal and do the post here that I did with me. So I'll do my post. So add myself. And I'll go back to Postman and add Matt back in. And we'll see that my employee list is now full again. Sound good? I'll give you guys a second to catch up.
I'm just gonna post Matt because my terminal doesn't work.
No worries. Yeah, this is one of those benefits you get from having Postman. You can have those tabs as multiple. So I wanted to, I could go ahead and take this one right here of this one. I can go ahead and, where's that button for duplicate? Where'd they put that thing? Oh, they moved it.
Oh, Keisha's not here. That's why it's so quiet.
What'd you say?
I was gonna ask earlier on what the.
Oh, Keith isn't here. Wait, where is Keith?
Keisha's not here.
He said he wasn't gonna be
He
here.
said he was gonna be
What's that?
absent.
I remember that now. Yeah, I think I remember seeing that. It's been a
You
weird
right
day
click on
today.
it and it says duplicate tab.
I did that. It didn't show up. It's not letting me do that.
Oh, that's because I'm
Yeah.
on the app. I don't know
Ah.
about the web one.
Okay, I see how it is. Messing with me. No.
Just give you a bunch of wrong answers. See
Yep,
when you go
exactly.
crazy.
Thanks.
You click on it and Control D.
What are you trying to do?
I was trying to duplicate this item so that I could create the same exact request and just make site changes. But I don't know where the
you can
duplicate
just
button
copy
went.
and paste that, can't you?
I can, but there used to be a duplicate tool. A way to
When we're-
duplicate the request.
Why can't you use the duplicate tab? What's wrong with
I
that?
can't right click because I'm using the web browser. version.
Oh, okay. Right.
When we've been in our code, when we've been doing the ID counter increment, are we doing increment and get or get and increment? Because I've realized that there's two
Increment
of them.
and get. So we start at
That's-
0. We want to go up by 1.
That's
So we
why
want to start at ID 1.
doing it backwards. That'll do it.
Honestly, that won't break it because it just means you have an ID 0. So it's not a
Well,
big deal. but-
I'm ending up with two that have the same
Oh,
the
fun.
same ID numbers.
All right.
So I'm trying to avoid that. And I've realized that there's two ways to do this.
Yep.
Or maybe because you did it in one way.
No,
one
they're
of
both the
users.
same way, but
That
whatever.
seems weird that you'd be getting the same number. That sounds odd.
Yeah, the one that we're putting in the code is 1, and then the one that I'm posting through Postman also comes in as ID 1.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's
Give it a shot.
interesting
We'll-
things
we'll
happening on
try
my
that
end
later.
today.
Yeah. Sorry.
1, 2, 3. It should be incrementing, right? 1, 2, 3.
There it
But
goes.
you
Yeah.
can save it and then just
What's
make
the little dot? What's the
multiples
little
of
two
it.
dots do?
It's not duplicating it, but it's the
Oh.
closest thing that I know you can do.
Anyway, as long as we have those, double check, make sure you have a collection of more than one system, more than one employee. And then all we need to do is on our Postman is I can do /1. And we'll see there's Jim. /3, there's Matt. /2, there's me. And by
Hey.
doing one that doesn't exist, we get nothing.
It works. I like it when stuff works.
Isn't it great?
It's a rare
Yes.
feat tonight, apparently.
Ah, but if you don't, if you get one that's not there, it doesn't send back 404. You would have to send
No,
that yourself,
we
right?
do have to configure that. Yes, we haven't
Alright.
configured that for our system.
But
We're telling it to
you-
return an
you-
employee, and employee.get will return a null if the employee.get gets nothing.
You could just put an if statement in there, say employee doesn't exist after,
Yep. Yeah, you could check to see if employees.get actually returned something or not. And if it didn't, you can do return 404. Now, that is something I do need to double check how to do. I didn't check on that again. I remember the syntax for that, but there is a way to return 404 and return errors. Anyway, I think it's like you throw or something, but anyway. I believe that because of the get mapping, the Spring Boot is listening for certain catches. So I believe you throw, but I got to double check on that. I didn't plan for that today. I didn't double check my syntax. Anyway, we'll do that next week though. For now, again, we're just doing the basics. We're assuming everything's going to work right now. We'll do the additional stuff later on. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah, we'll do update and destroy next week. So this is a good basic stuff for this stuff. So for the challenge for the weekend, you're going to add another new item to your other project that you had that you worked on that you added employees to. This time, I want you guys to create another type of entity. So this one, I'm going to say we can do to vehicles. Let's go back to our renting software again. I won't make you do Felicia's food stand again. We'll go back to vehicles. So in this case, we're going to do a vehicle entity. So you can come up again with a couple different data types. Again, you need to have ID and give it a couple data types. And then you want to do the same thing we did today here. Do the create and read items. So create and read is all you care about for the weekend. That's your challenge for the weekend. And again, I'm only giving that as your homework because we have the hackathon over the weekend. So if you're participating in that, this becomes secondary. You have the 1 hour at the start of Monday to finish this if you need to. So if you don't have time because of the hackathon, because you're participating in it, don't worry about don't worry about this homework. You can do that on Monday. But for those who aren't, if anyone here is not participating in the hackathon, you definitely should have this done before class starts on Monday. You have more than enough time to do this one. It's not that difficult of an item. Shouldn't be too difficult. Keep in mind that, yeah, because of that, you don't need the repository for Monday for this assignment. We didn't use it, so don't worry about creating that. Yeah, any questions on this?
Is there going to be a homework assignment for that so that
Yes, I will create a homework assignment. Yep.
Perfect, because I'm fried tonight. I'm going to forget.
No worries.
yeah, just post that up so we can look at it.
Yeah.
What am I doing here? Oh,
What am I doing there? That's weird. And I'll put this up on GitHub and post it as a material in the classroom. Sound good. So that'll take care of what you asked for, Eridan. Bit. Any other questions?
Good, at least for me.
Overall, the stuff's not too complicated, I would say, right? Not yet, at least. Pretty straightforward. You're just following some certain rules, right? So
so
mostly just very descriptive. So main thing for this is just going to be a little bit of repetition, just learning the certain keys here. Overall, the basics here are pretty straightforward. And what's going to be interesting is once we bring in those other tools that make data basic easier. We can see that we can do any sort of Java logic we want here. So all this stuff is Java logic that we're doing. We're adding it to a hash map, which is converting to a list. And that's mostly the reason why I decided to pull out the repository system. I wanted to show that all the logic we're doing in one of these routes is Java logic. So we can do all the Java stuff we want, all the Java syntax we want to do backend stuff. So this is what the backend of a web server is doing, to evaluate stuff and then send data back down to the front end. And with this, we can, once we have this data, we can display it how we want. We can display the name, role, and age with HTML. So the front end system can accept this JSON data because front ends all have JavaScript. Remember, the web runs on JavaScript. So no matter what front end system you use, it's gonna have a JavaScript component. And we know JavaScript reads JSON, no problem at all, right? JavaScript loves JSON.
Kind of in the name.
Exactly. And so it can read that and then it can use that data in its front end. And that's what's so amazing about this stuff, is that it's not overly complex to get something basic going. And that's what we're looking for the weekend. Using pretty much the things I gave you, except for updating and deleting, you have the basics now you need. So for most of you for participating in the hackathon right now, or the weekend, the only things you would have to learn on your own is just how to do a delete and a put, if you want to do put, or just create a post that does updating. So how do I post on an existing item? And so for anybody to participate in a hackathon, you can do an additional kind of personal challenge of taking exactly what we did and see if you can create a post update route. So the same thing we have here is get ID, instead do post mapping ID. And now just find the item, take the data that's in here and update the existing employee with the new employee data, right? So look into that. That would be the challenge. Would be, so once you have that, you have all the pieces you need to create a API at least. You might need someone to help you out with the front end, but at least you have the stuff for the back end. You can at least create an API that could be hosted on OpenShift, right? So you need to learn the OpenShift stuff, but as long as you can get a working Java application, you containerize it, make a runnable image out of it, get it up on OpenShift, and then you can ping it from its URL and start pulling data down. So that's the challenge. My goal, of course, for the weekend, by the way, I don't know if I'll have it by tomorrow, but by tomorrow night or Saturday during the earlier part of the day, I'm actually hoping to be able to do at least one keynote where I walk through putting this application right here we have onto an OpenShift project and getting it so we can actually ping the things with Postman. So that's what I'm hoping to do. I don't know if I'll have it with a database, but that's fine. Again, that'll be something that you guys are challenging yourself to do. Can I get an actual database working? So that's some of the extra stuff that can give you a advantage during class, that some of you might learn JPA and learn how to do Hibernate and learn SQL over the weekend. That's the big challenge you guys have for this hackathon, is doing some sort of database stuff between then and now.
I have some hankering about it.
Jim could be a good team member for that. Yeah, that's true. A lot of people from cohort 12 might be a useful benefit for those kind of things. The things that you I'm sorry, from cohort 11. For those of you in cohort 12 who have not done those things yet, definitely be aware that some of the cohort 12 people would have that knowledge. All right. Any final questions?
It looked like during that, the link you sent us for the OpenShift tutorial thing there.
You got to do it quick.
Yeah, no, I know. I went through it quickly and I got it done. Within the time, within 15 minutes or so. I went through it, but it looked like as though is that all you have to do is have this project posted to GitHub and then bring it into OpenShift, and OpenShift will automatically containerize it. And then
it might.
And then that's the way that the tutorial made it work.
Yeah. It did clarify that the source does need to be valid. And so my concern is whether or not what we have will be clear that it needs to use Gradle to run it. Or do you have to have built it and have a build version on your GitHub?
Okay.
So does it need to be built there or not? And that part I don't know.
Right.
I haven't tested that fully because they don't really show you what the code is and they didn't explain what it needs to be for Java. So
True.
Yeah, there's more testing we need to do there. It definitely seems like that'd be great if you could. I just haven't tested it yet. So 100%, again, the fact that they show that it can, it's definitely something you can try as part of the hackathon. The main thing, like I said, the first thing I would do as early as you can, take a working JavaScript application, a Java application that what we have right now, technically what we have right now is working, right? See if you can get this working on a OpenShift project. Can you get it publicly available? If you can, then once you have that working, you know that any project you build in Java will work as well. But start with something that you know works, start with something simple so that you can see, can I get it up there? Can I get it running? All right. Cool. I will see some of you guys over the weekend for the hackathons. I'm gonna go figure out what's going on with that form and get that form out to you guys as soon as I can. I'll get this video uploaded.
Thing today.
Yes, I'm gonna be sending that out. The main thing is, as long as you have it done, I'm gonna probably say by 3 o'clock tomorrow, you're good. You can join in. So I sent the form to Arnell, but I think he got stuck in the middle of class and wasn't able to look at it. He didn't review it yet. So
he said he's going to post it at 9:45.
Oh, cool.
It's in a general chat.
Got it. Okay, so he's probably adding a couple more questions then, or he's reviewing it now.
Sorry to interrupt you, Cliff. I finally got the curl to work.
Hey, nice.
Those double quotes in the JSON object.
Oh, they're doing escape characters? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You have to escape the double quotes?
Yeah.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder if that thing didn't allow the single quotes. Oh, that would be annoying. Or the single quotes still, I don't know. That's annoying.
That's how you can get it to work.
Yeah, Windows and Mac, and just stop being the same. Be consistent, people.
Oh, if you want to be consistent, you can install PowerShell on your Mac and you'll be fine.
There you go.
Yeah, no. Because then I'm not being consistent for the Mac people. Then on the Mac,
No,
they'll
no,
have to
be
download.
consistent my way.
That means everyone here that has a Mac has to download PowerShell. And I can guarantee you guys that the Unix systems are more prevalent in the developer industry. So I highly recommend learning Ubuntu and stuff and Linux terminal commands more than PowerShell.
Well, that's
Not
what I
to
said,
say you might.
The PowerShell does use Linux
Yeah.
command.
I would say you might want to look into just getting the Unix terminal that Windows provides, the Unix terminal emulator that they provide. That probably would be actually better.
Well, again, WSL, the Windows subsystem for Linux, runs Linux natively in Windows 10, so you can actually run like Linux, like everything in it. You can run it like its own operating system. Yeah, that's
Cool.
what was good about it. And then if you do Kali, you can actually have the full Kali desktop running in your Windows. You have Windows and running them concurrently. You can run them both together.